So to begin my turn, I put down Happy Horse. We now have 10 happy points. And then I will put down Jim, but sideways, which I think might mean something. And then, lastly, to end my turn, I will play Gina the Golden Retriever, who is so cute and beautiful that you will no longer be able to attack. And end my turn. No, it couldn't be. It couldn't possibly. What the fuck? So when I saw that the new Mario Kart world had more mechanics, some part of me was a little worried, as well as excited for the cool-looking game. Mario Kart is a fairly simple family game. How would this affect playability? Fortunately, I was entirely wrong, and it's a completely cool and good game, but also, it got me thinking. A lot of games and game series get super complicated these days. So I thought, why not discuss it? What makes games more complicated? The genre calls for it. As an example, at a basic level, a side-scrolling platformer is not the same as an RPG. A basic platformer requires sideways movement and jumping. An RPG requires omnidirectional movement, talking, and then a separate set of controls for fighting if it's a turn-based RPG. They're part of a series. Game series, especially long-running ones, build up expectations for how they work, but then they need to add more things in, so it's not just the same thing over and over again. To fit in with the examples for the previous point, we'll think of Super Mario Bros. For the platformer and Final Fantasy for the RPG. Both have been going on for a long time and have plenty of mechanics. Mario is certainly mechanically recognizable, but visibly different, and they've added a lot more power-ups. Final Fantasy 16 is definitely different from Final Fantasy 1. For one thing, 3D. For two things, a lot more narrative. For three things, Scouse Man. It's the first time I've ever thought of a Scouse person as hot, but whatever. Both of these things are good kinds of progress. Innovation is how you improve. Don't tell this to a Pokemon fan, but changing things up to keep things fresh is how you make games in a series better. They're part of a long-running game of service. This is the thing with MMORPGs and also more recently gacha games. A screenshot from Honkai Star Rail is actually partly what inspired this video because, there is so much GUI in this screenshot. The thing that made me jump off the Star Rail was how fucking complicated everything was getting between the story, adding another categorization system for characters in the latest world. Also the fact that if you wanted to not have a terrible time fighting in the latest story updates, you had to wail for the latest gacha-focused character, because the enemies felt to me like they were designed to be weak to them. It's kind of necessary to add more stuff to a game series, game as service, or even trading card games. I think. I don't know that much about TCGs, I only played Shadowverse for Yamu Yumemi. It's necessary to keep adding stuff to keep interest growing, and that's what companies want, is to number go up. You need more playable anime waifu characters, maybe an anime husbando character to keep the occasional man enjoyer interested. More mechanics, more brand collaborations, please give us more money to keep the shareholders happy. That's it, isn't it? Just having the core experience isn't enough. Everything needs to expand, expand, expand. You can't just go one and done, like you used to. Old woman yells at cloud. The creator is an idiot who thinks too highly of themselves. I'm admittedly giving you second-hand information here, but my example for this is Yeek, a postmodern RPG. My knowledge on this game comes from wiki hopping and an outdated YouTube video that's still very good. Also, I'm on the fence about playing it myself. for intellectual reasons, just to see what the fuck went wrong. The beginning of the game involves a reference to a real case of a real missing person, Elisa Lam, in a really tone-deaf way. This plot is then dropped like a hot potato partway through, and like sort of referenced in the ending, I think, and then completely referenced in a dummied-out ending, if I remember correctly. That's only available in a YouTube video for some fucking reason. It's so weird. Then we get another load of drop plot threads, padded out prose from the main character, and then a comet drops on New Year's Day of the year 2000. Every party member except for Alex, the main character, dies, leaving the questions that character arcs pose mostly unsolved. Then it turns out our self-centered asshole of a main character is literally the center of all the multiverse and the most importantest guy ever. And Alex will always destroy whatever universe he's in and survive and exist in the between space. I have no fucking clue what the moral of Y2K is. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but nothing is fucking sticking. Given the subheading of this section, I'm guessing you know how I feel about the developers of this game. They have said that gamers don't understand complex themes. What the hearty fuck is the moral of this game's story? Did you need to be so meta? Did you need to take the story of a real-life tragedy? Did you need to include a gravestone for Satoru Iwata, a real person who died 15 years after your game is set? What the fuck are you talking about? Why did I choose to talk about yet? The conclusion of this section is that I don't think that every idea that you have is a good idea because you personally like it. Is it more important to be consistent or interesting? It's the age-old question I don't really have an answer to, but I'll pose it to you anyway in the hopes that you'll come up with your own. Series of any form of media build up an expectation. You expect Pokemon to include some of its vast selection of monsters. You expect a mainline Pokemon game to be a turn-based fighting game with a linear story that includes having rivals and going between towns to fight gym leaders at a Pokemon gym or an equivalent at least. You expect Pokemon, at least when it's officially made, to be an all-ages appropriate experience. Unless stated otherwise. I think there was a Junji Ito Pokemon manga. The only time that man's age appropriate is when he talks about cats. Even with all the stuff I mentioned before, Pokemon is quite different now compared to the beginning of the franchise. Starting with Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, there have been some differences between games aside from the setting and characters. They added Pokemon Contest, the Pokeathlon thing in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, etc, etc. The thing is, in the end, Pokemon is a product that needs to be sold. There will always be the Gen 1ers who complain that Pokemon is nothing like the first gen, but Nintendo, Game Freak, and the Pokemon Company will always want to sell to new people. It's tricky to balance keeping the old fans while attracting new ones. Over the course of time, you need to innovate, or the formula will get stale. But then if you innovate too much, it could stray away from the original formula, and long-time fans will be put off. Heck, even I've fallen into this way of thinking before. I'm a long-time Tales fan, and I prefer a specific style of Tales game, and not others, or some of the more modern ones. It's somewhat of a consequence of having that expectation of what it should be, and the specific type of neurodivergent I am. It bothers my weird little brain when things don't somewhat stick to the formula. But my personal idiosyncrasies can't affect how a game company makes their games. So to answer the question I asked myself in the subheading, not a fucking clue, Lamau. Is there a sweet spot for how complicated a game should be? It depends on personal preference. It's like how I see TTRPGs or card games with a massive tome for instructions, and something leaves my body. I don't know what, but something leaves my body. Then other people love abiding by complex rule sets that make me, personally, crinkle like a sheet of paper. As someone with a degree in games design, it's not bad design to make it complicated. At the same time, though, I don't think it's good to overdo it either. Once again, I have posed a question with no correct answer. I fucking thrive off this shit. If you have any thoughts, make sure to like, comment, maybe even subscribe. If you enjoy my content, consider my merch drop. I now stream on only YouTube. So keep an eye open for that. Anyway, thank you and goodbye.